Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're unpacking a massive leap forward in enterprise network security. If you deal with network infrastructure, you know that keeping physical security devices secure and compliant is an exhausting battle. For the longest time, there has been this incredibly frustrating gap, a gap between the strict lockdown security protocols we apply to standard IT hardware like corporate laptops and the way we manage physical security devices like IP cameras. Today, we're diving into the source material to reveal how that gap is finally being bridged.
Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the digital ID nightmare, move on to the power of X.509, and then explore the EST standard rescue. After that, we'll look under the hood at ECC, see how to scale it all with Trustlix, and finally wrap things up with the new security paradigm.
Section 1. The Digital ID Nightmare. Let's establish the foundational problem that's been quietly plaguing IT departments for years.
So how do you manually manage thousands of expiring digital IDs without breaking strict IT policies? To really grasp the scale of this, I want you to imagine a massive corporate enterprise. Every employee has a smart ID card to get into the building, but for extreme security, those cards expire every few weeks. Now imagine a single human being has to physically track down every employee, take their old card, enter it into a system, and print a new one, day in and day out. It would be a never-ending cycle. But what if those aren't employees? What if there are thousands of network cameras and IoT sensors silently running your building? If they expire, your network goes blind.
Because modern IT policies demand really short certificate lifespans to minimize the risk of hackers lurking around. So imagine your enterprise policy dictates a 30-day expiration for a fleet of 5,000 cameras. You're probably doing the math in your head right now. That is an average of over 160 manual updates every single day. And it's not just clicking a button, right? An administrator has to log in, generate a signing request, delete the old certificate, upload the new one, and reboot the system. It's tedious and frankly a wide-open invitation for human error.
Which brings us to a frankly staggering number, 19 years. ACINS OS is deployed on millions of devices worldwide. If an IT pro takes just 10 measly minutes to manually rotate a certificate for a single device, doing that for a fleet of 1 million devices equals 19 years of non-stop 24/7 manual labor.
Obviously, that's an impossible bottleneck.
Section 2. The Power of X509. So this begs the question, why can't IT just ignore these certificates and leave them alone for a decade like they used to?
Well, the answer lies in the XN59 certificate. You can think of this as an encrypted, unforgeable digital VIP passport. And let's be clear, this is not just a nice-to-have feature, it is the absolute bedrock of network security. Without a valid XN59 certificate, an essential security camera goes completely dark. The network switch will literally drop the connection to prevent a potential breach. Here's how that digital handshake actually works in practice. First, when the camera plugs into the network, it presents its X.509 certificate. Then, the centralized server checks the digital signature. It needs to know the device is exactly who it claims to be, and not just some hacker spoofing a device from the parking lot. Once it's verified, a secure HTTPS and 802.1x connection is established, forming a safe, encrypted tunnel.
Moving on to Section 3, the EST standard rescue. Since no IT administrator on Earth can spend 19 years doing this by hand, the industry desperately needed a rescue operation. Enter EST, which stands for Enrollment over Secure Transport. This is an open ITF standard, designated as RFC 7030, and its entire purpose is to take the human element completely out of the loop. Now, what's really exciting here is that Axis Communications is officially the first in the physical security industry to natively support EST in their AXIS OS 12.1 release. This means these devices can now plug directly into existing enterprise infrastructure, stuff like Cisco ISE, Keyfactor, or HPE Aruba, and just automatically manage their own security credentials.
Now, what's really interesting here is when you compare the old standard to the new one. For a long time, the industry relied on SEP, but SEP really struggled to keep pace with modern cyber threats. EST just leaves it in the dust. EST mandates strong TLS 1.2 or 1.3 encryption for the actual enrollment conversation, so nobody can intercept the certificate request. But its real superpower? Automatic background renewal. The device actually knows when its time is almost up, and right before it expires, it secretly talks to the server, authenticates itself, and pulls down a brand new certificate without dropping offline for even a single second.
Section 4. Under the Hood. ECC. Let's take a peek at the mathematical engine driving all this right inside the camera itself. To make this work so seamlessly on edge devices, EST natively supports ECC, or elliptic curved cryptography, and this is absolutely crucial. See, traditionally, standard IT servers use RSA encryption, which relies on solving massive mathematical puzzles. Servers have the raw power to solve those. But a security camera, that's a small edge device. Its primary job is processing high-definition video and running analytics. If you force that tiny processor to solve a massive RSA puzzle, your live video would lag and the camera would literally start to overheat.
The disparity in efficiency is just incredible. ECC utilizes a highly efficient mathematical curve instead, so it delivers the exact same impenetrable security as a giant 3072-bit RSA key, but it does it with a tiny 256-bit key. That translates to minimal power consumption, lightning-fast digital handshakes, and an impenetrable defense, all without dropping a single frame of video.
Section 5. Scaling automation with Trustlix. Okay, so we've got the protocol and we've got the math. Let's pivot to the practical application of this technology in the real world using the Trustlix ACAP application.
There is a core philosophy driving Trustlix, and it is simply this: identity before the network. Basically, a device is guilty until proven innocent. When a camera is plugged in, the physical switch port remains entirely locked. It doesn't get an IP address, and it definitely doesn't get to talk to other devices. It remains totally isolated until its identity is 100% authenticated via a trusted certificate authority. To deploy this across an entire fleet, Trustlix offers a pretty brilliant bulk workflow. First, you scan the network for cameras. Then, you push the certificates in 802.1x configuration. Finally, you bind the EST server and configure NTP. But I really want to highlight a crucial detail from the tutorial here. That last part, configuring NTP, or Network Time Protocol. It is absolutely mandatory. Because certificates are heavily tied to time-based expiration dates, if a camera's internal clock is even slightly out of sync with the server, a perfectly valid, brand-new certificate will be instantly rejected. So time synchronization is literally the silent linchpin of this entire operation.
Section 6. The new security paradigm. Let's zoom out for a second to look at the broader philosophy at play here, because we're witnessing a massive paradigm shift in how these devices are viewed by IT departments. And Axis OS 12.10 brilliantly illustrates that shift. It isn't just about ST, it's a cohesive suite of enterprise IT capabilities, from device SBOMs and OAuth 2.0 Active Directory integration to IEEE 802.1x authentication, MACsec encryption, remote syswalg, and SNMP health monitoring. Every single feature here serves one main purpose: tearing down that historical wall between physical security and standard IT. Cameras are no longer these mysterious black boxes, they are fully integrated IT citizens.
Take device SBOMs, for instance. SBOM stands for Software Bill of Materials. You can think of it like the ingredients list on the back of a food package. If you have a food allergy, you check the ingredients, right? Well, in the IT world, if news breaks that a widely used third-party code library has a massive vulnerability, like during a supply chain attack, IT administrators don't have to guess if their cameras are at risk. They just query the SBOM and instantly search across thousands of devices to see exactly what software ingredients are running inside.
Or look at MACsec. While TLS and HTTPS secure the software conversation, MACsec actually encrypts the physical hardware connection, the literal wire. So, if a sophisticated hacker walks up to the outside of your building, cuts the physical Ethernet cable connected to a camera, and splices it into their own laptop, they are going to get absolutely nothing. Because of MACsec, every single packet of data is locked right at the hardware layer. All the hacker gets is a bunch of useless garbage data.
Which brings us to our final thought. The automation provided by ESD and Trustlix beautifully eliminates those 19 years of manual labor and human error. But I want to leave you with a rather provocative question about the blast radius. If we remove the human entirely and hand the keys over to an automated centralized server, what happens if a network admin accidentally deploys a single bad policy update? Could that one mistake cascade at light speed, instantly and permanently locking 5,000 perfectly healthy cameras out of the network? Automation is incredibly powerful, but when the machines manage themselves, the stakes for a single typo have never been higher. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how these standards reshape our digital world.